Economical characteristics of the 1920s. In the 1920s, the United States saw several keys in the economics. These contributed to the prosperity and wealth of the period, but these eventually led to the United States fall in the stock market crash and the Great Depression. Some of the factors include the industrial expansion, because here in the 1920s, um, there was a growth in the industrial production and technological advances, which boost the economy and production. Production were made in mass, such as automobiles and household appliances. Income inequality. Income inequality also increased in the jobs because the benefits in the economic wealth were not evenly distributed. In the jobs, many people could gain more but also get paid less than they deserve in the same work. Also, the easy credit. Credit was available for everyone, and this boosted the ideas of consumerism and the desire of the people to buy new things. Consumerism. People people start buying more because they have more disposal credit and income. The use of the credit allow people to buy more and install plants and driving up the want of production. People have all this income thanks to the prosperity post World War One. Here, post World War One led to the economic prosperity, but this will only have some time because eventually it will fall into the stock market crash.
Political causes that led to the events of 1920s decade. First, the end of World War One. The aftermath of this conflict led to led to bad agreements, terms with bad agreements against defeated nations. These bad terms led to a lot of crises within these nations. Two, League of Nations. This was an organization to promote peace and cooperation, but it proved to be useless in its effectiveness in preventing conflicts. 3. The Russian Revolution. This gave rise to the Soviet Union and the spread of communism all around the world. 4. The Prohibition. This resulted in the prohibition of alcohol, in leading to the political and social consequences, including the rise of organized crime. 5. The women's suffrage. Women gained the right to vote in various countries, contributing to social and political change. 6. The Red Scare. A fear of communism led to a political repression, anti-communism, hysteria, and events like the Palmer raids. Rise of fascism. Fascism movements in Italy and Nazism in Germany altered the political landscape in Europe, leading to a totalitarian regimes. 8. Political economic policies. Laissez-faire economic policies in the United States favored business interests and grow and to the growth of the roaring 20s. Colonialism and imperialism. Western powers continue to exert control over colonies, leading to anti-colonial and nationalist movements in various regions.
Social. The Roaring Twenties. The social and cultural futures known as the Roaring Twenties began in the leading metropolitan centers and spread widely in the aftermath of World War One. The spirit of Roaring Twenties was marked by a general feeling in nobility associated by modernity and such as a break with the tradition. Through modern technologies such as automobiles, moving pictures, and radio. The 20th decade saw large-scale development and used automobiles, telephones, films, radio, and electrical appliances in the lives of millions in the Western world. The media, founded by the new industry of mass market advertising driving consumers' demand, focused on celebrities, especially sports heroes and movie stars. In many countries, women won the right to vote. Arts. Art Deco was the style of design and architecture that marked the era. Originating in Europe, it spread to the rest of Western Europe and North America towards the mid 20s. In the US, one of the more remarkable buildings featuring this style was constructed as the tallest building of all the time. Painting in North America during the 20s developed in a different direction from that of Europe. In Europe, the 20s were the era of Expressionism and later Surrealism. As Man Ray stated in 20s after the publication of a unique issue of New York Data. Dance. Dance clubs became enormously popular in the 20s. Their popularity peaked in the late 20s and reached into the early 30s. Dance music came to dominate all forms of popular music by the late 20s. Classical pieces, operas, folk music, etc. were all transformed into popular dancing melodies to state the public craze for dancing. Dance clubs across the US, sponsoring dancing contests where dancers invent try to compete with new moves. Professionals began to hone their skills in tap dance and other dances of the era throughout the stage circuit across the United States. Fashion. Attire. The fashion for women was all about getting loose. Women wear dresses all day, every day. Day dresses had a drop waist, which was a sash or belt around the low waist or hip, and a skirt that hung anywhere from the ankle and up to the knee, never above. For men in white-collar jobs, business suits were the day-to-day attire. Street, plaid, or window pane suits came in dark gray, blue, and brown in the winter, and ivory white, tan, and pastels in the summer. Shirts were white and neckties were essential. The magazines kept her up to date on styles, clothes, designers, art, sports, and modern technology such as automobiles and telephones.
Literature. The literature of 1920s, often referred to as the Roaring Twenties or the Jazz Age, was heavily influenced by several key events and cultural shifts, including first World War I. The aftermath of this war led writers like Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald, who had experienced the war and wrote about its disillusionment, and the lost generation that felt disconnected from traditional values. 2. The Prohibition. The era of Prohibition, which banned the sale of alcoholic beverages in the United States, led to the rise of speakeasies and the culture of rebellion against the society. 3. Jazz and Harlem Renaissance. The Jazz Age was defined by the music of the time, and jazz music, which its improvisational and energetic qualities, inspired many writers. 4. Women's suffrage. The 1920s marked the achievement of women's suffrage in the United States, which had a significant impact on literature by giving voice to the new perspective of feminine themes. 6. Economic prosperity and consumer culture. The economic prosperity of the decade and the growth of the consumer culture influenced literature by exploring the materialism and the decadence of the time. 7. Social change and political tensions. The 1920s was a period of social change and political tensions, including debates over the immigration, race, and the Red Scare.
Music. In the 1920s were a vibrant and transformative period for the music. The 1920s was marked by various styles and ways that people enjoyed the music. The most representative style of music of the 1920s was jazz music. The 1920s was often referred to the jazz age. Jazz became intensely popular with jazz clubs and speakeasies for the jazz performance. The music was characterized by improvisation and syncopation. Also, for the music aspect, was characterized by the dance halls. The dance halls were a significant part for the music scenes. People flocked to dance to the dance halls to enjoy live music and dance to the popular dance styles like Charleston and Foxtrot. For the end, we have the radio, because in the 1920s saw the rise of the commercial radio broadcasting. This allowed people to listen to music in their homes and introduce them to a wide range of musical genres and artists.
The prohibition in January 16 of 1990 and went into effect 1 year later on January 17 in the 20s. The 18th Amendment reflects a progressive faith in the federal government's abilities to fix social problems, because the law did not especially outlaw the consumption of alcohol. However, many U.S. citizens stockpiled personal reserves of beer, wine, and liquor before the ban took effect.
The fall of the NYSE. The fall of the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange, experienced this crash in 1929, known as the Great Stock Market Crash of 1929. This crash of the stock market was caused first because of the speculation and overvalued stocks. During the 1920s, there was a speculative frenzy in the stock market, with many investors buying stocks on margin, also known as borrowed money, in the hopes of making quick profits. This led to overvaluation of many stocks. The lack of regulation. The stock market in the 1920s was characterized by a lack of regulation and transparency. 3. Economic factors. The U.S. economy had experienced a period of rapid expansion during the 1920s decade, but by